My presentation today will be on Drupal. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a software engineer with Axelerant Technologies. I've been working on Drupal for the past, let's say, 7 years. Started off with Drupal 7, Drupal 6 basically, and then comes Drupal 7, Drupal 8, and then now I'm working on Drupal 10. Before I start, anyone has heard about Drupal? Show of hands. So anything on Drupal, if you can, just a word or two. Yeah, basically it's a CMS, also a framework, because Drupal generally is not marketed just as a CMS, but then we can use Drupal to create web applications also. And there's so many things in Drupal which we can use to to develop applications, secure applications, and then to develop enterprise applications also at the same time. And that's where Drupal shines when compared to PHP applications. Okay, so here is the first slide. It's all about Drupal, and then it says make something amazing for everyone. So this is the tagline which I got from the Drupal website itself. And with Drupal 10, what happens is that Drupal is moving towards digital experiences, and we're creating more the UX, the UI. It's more related to content managers, content developers, and also what we have with Drupal 10 is that from Drupal 9 onwards, Drupal 8, Drupal 9 onwards, is that Drupal is based on the Symfony framework. And then if we talk about Symfony framework, obviously it's a framework which is basically a PHP framework where people develop enterprise applications, and that's where since Drupal is based on, it's like has its background on Symfony framework, that's why that security and stability of Symfony framework comes into Drupal also. Okay, so that's basically what is Drupal. Drupal is basically, it's a free open source community framework developed using PHP. And yeah, obviously, if we say PHP, we need servers, we need a base server or Nginx server, then we have PHP runtime. We need our MySQL database, or maybe MariaDB or Postgres, that whole complete stack, LAMP stack. Then it's already written by Bryce Puttard, basically as a message board, just a small project basically. It starts off as a small project, but then it became an open source project in 2001. Maybe that started off with Drupal 4, I think, Drupal 3, Drupal 4. And then it became, and now we come up to the latest version now is Drupal 10. And I've seen, because I've worked with Drupal 6, Drupal 7, the amount of work, the amount of contribution that's being done in Drupal is humongous. And there's so many companies which are sponsoring Drupal maintenance, they're sponsoring development, and so many other things at the same time. Okay, so the name Drupal comes from the now defunct drop.org website, which is that message board. Okay, so whose code slowly evolved into Drupal. Okay, Buttite want to call the site Dort, which is basically called Dutch for village, for its community aspects. Basically, he has in mind this idea of creating a community. Okay, so he got that idea, and then he plans to do it like let's say it's a kind of where people can interact together, like how we have this community now here in Shillong. And basically what he did is that by mistake he typed something in the web to create a domain name, and finally we came up with Drupal. Okay, so current version of Drupal is 10.1. If anyone has some experience or maybe prior information about Drupal, if you work on Drupal 6 and Drupal 7, the code base is a little bit different. It's more of a procedural code. There's no object-oriented framework in place at that time for Drupal 6 and Drupal 7. But then when Drupal moves to Drupal 8 onwards, when they start using Symfony framework, then the object-oriented concept comes in. And that's when the code base of Drupal got completely changed. And obviously, it makes it much better than before. Okay. So next, advantages of Drupal. So I think you can see the screen now. These are the few advantages of Drupal. First of all, it's free. It's an open source application. Then it's reliable. if you see, maybe in the next slide, if I come to the next slide, you'll see the different companies, the different entities and organizations who use Drupal, then you'll understand why I say it's reliable. Then resourceful, when I say resourceful, it means that there's so many resources that are present with Drupal. If you have Drupal, then we have these different modules which you can use. Then you have different teams. Then you have there are lots of people who will help you with the development. There's so much of documentation. There's so much of websites which provide courses which you can learn Drupal. Example of one of the websites is Drupalize Me. That's one of the websites which I've learned Drupal when maybe some 6-7 years back. And there's so much of resources which you can use to learn Drupal. And then obviously it's a community. That means there's all these people who, there's not just one person who built Drupal, but then there's a lot of people who work on building Drupal. Okay, just not just building, but then also they maintain the code. They do all these security checks. They do all these code reviews so that it makes Drupal, the code base of Drupal becomes robust and becomes reliable, it becomes secure at the same time, because there's so many people who are looking into the code base. It's not just that, like suppose I develop something, I put it for public use. It's not that these people, everyone will start using it. So instead, someone else will review your code. In Drupal community, we say, I forgot this one keyword, RBTC, review for, given like it's something like we say we need to give the community to review the code before it passes the check and then before it comes so that we can use an application. Okay, so it's flexible. It's very flexible. We can use Drupal for just a very small website, or you can use Drupal for enterprise applications. You can use Drupal for your web apps or maybe mobile apps also. There's a thing now which we do is that we have Drupal called Headless Drupal, where you can develop your APIs in Drupal and then you can connect using your front-end applications like maybe your React application or maybe your Flutter application or any application that you develop which needs backend APIs. You can use Drupal Headless. Okay, it's very scalable. I've seen so many websites using Drupal, and then the traffic of these websites is like humongous, so huge. But then the way Drupal scales, you can see. Like I cannot explain to you, but then I've seen it with so many people. We've seen the traffic in Google Analytics, and then you can see that Drupal handles all this traffic easily. And it's very secure. Why I say secure is that since the code base is reviewed by so many people, it's not just one person who reviews the code, there's so many people who reviews the code. That's what makes Drupal very secure. And eventually, it's free because it's an open source application. Okay, so any questions till here? Any doubts?
How big is the community?
I'll come to the next slide. I think you'll see there. There are almost 1.4 million Drupal users in 230 countries, and they are committed to seeing Drupal succeed. So I've worked with some people, and then generally in my experience with Drupal, I think I've worked with, like in one project which is called a Linkit project, which I'm also part of the team who contributes to patches and contributes to the code base of that module. I think there are around 6 people, and then suppose if I push a patch, suppose if there's a lot of issues there in that module, if I push a patch, these people will start reviewing. Okay, they'll put comments. Then if there's any doubts, they'll ask me back, and then I need to fix that, or maybe there's something, or maybe someone else will pitch in and then fix the issue. There's something like that in Drupal community. So 1.4 million Drupal users in 230 countries, and they committed to seeing Drupal succeed. Okay, user experience. This prioritize user experience to empower site editors and content creators to build powerful customer experiences. This is what happens in Drupal 9 and Drupal 10 now with digital experiences. Drupal is moving towards that concept of enhancing user experiences, and so that people, not only just users of the website but application, but then also site editors and content creators and content managers can effectively use the website or the web application. Scalability. This is basically, I didn't go from the start. Basically, it's a kind of an advantages of Drupal over other CMS. I'm not trying to create a war here with comparing different open source technologies, but then this is something which we come up with Drupal. And excuse me. Another advantage of Drupal is that it's very scalable, and there's so many web teams, there's so many different teams which feel confident that their site can handle the highest traffic spikes. I've seen this in one of the websites which I've developed way back in, I think, 2011, and it's basically a kind of a news website. And then when we launched, it was like around 50 people who visited. I was like thinking, okay, fine, 50 people, maybe 100, or maybe like the maximum of 200 people. But then instantly when it got, when Google started indexing the site, the traffic goes up. It went up to almost 800 visits on an hour. And it's like, I was wondering, maybe will it support or not? Maybe it'll hang, or maybe the site will crash. But then it was like running efficiently. And that's one of the, that was in Drupal 7. That was a long time back. And I've seen that scalability of Drupal compared to the SMS, CMSs. Security, features or modules undergo stringent reviews, like how I mentioned before. Features or modules undergo stringent reviews by a team of Drupal core maintainers before it's released publicly. That means, suppose if I develop any code, if I develop a small patch, or maybe if I develop a small functionality, it has to be reviewed by someone else. Okay, so it's something called a code review, and it helps basically. So for me, basically, it's more of a learning process, because there's so many Drupal developers who have so much of experience in Drupal. They provide, kind of feedback on my code base. They provide some information on what I need to do. Suppose if I have any doubts, also if I am not sure on how to proceed, they can come up with solutions, and then I can start fixing the issues in my patch. Okay, so another advantage of Drupal, which I think other CMSs don't implement, is that they conform to the Worldwide Web Consortium of guidelines. These are all these accessibility guidelines for the people who has disabilities. Generally, this thing doesn't happen, but then I think in government websites, we see this accessibility compliance that we need to implement that. And with Drupal, it comes out of the box. We don't need to do any additional work, but then with Drupal, we can do all these things easily without much hassle, actually. Okay, so these are the few advantages of Drupal over other CMSs. Okay, so who uses Drupal? I've told you, I've explained to you about Drupal. So just while guess. Okay, Lonely Planet. Who've heard of the website Lonely Planet? Okay, it's basically a website, travel website, and then we have BBC News. It also uses Drupal. Then we have University of Oxford. Then we have White House. It also uses Drupal, and UNICEF also uses Drupal. Last but not least, Government of Meghalaya portal also uses Drupal. I think you should be surprised. Not surprised. I'll tell you one fact. Okay, when I came back to Shillong in 2011, I got interested, so much interested in Drupal. I was proposing people, let's do Drupal. But then no one is interested at that time. That was 2011. Then I think, say 2013 or 2014, I was surprised that Meghalaya portals started using Drupal, because I was pushing Drupal that time. And I got a small project in one of the departments in the government, and I was like telling, let's do Drupal. I'm so interested, because I know security-wise is very good, because government websites, they want security, they want stability, they want that accessibility features and everything. I told them, let's do Drupal, but then no one was interested at that time. Then suddenly, after 4 years, there was Drupal in Meghalaya portal. Okay. So how to use Drupal? Sadly, my Mac is not working, so I cannot show you today. But maybe in another session, and also I guess we don't have much time. Yeah, we still have time, but then I think showing you the code base will be a little bit tough. It needs more time. So how to use Drupal? Basically, it goes with we need to start with Drupal. It's basically a package. Basically, now we have with Symfony coming into picture, we have Composer package manager to manage our Drupal dependencies, to manage our Drupal modules, to install Drupal packages. We use Composer, and then we have these custom modules or contribute. Basically, we have contributed modules which we can say if you have a kind of functionality, let's say example clean URLs or maybe SEO URLs. Who heard about SEO URLs? Like those clean URLs, if you see in your URL, basically rather than having .html or maybe .php or maybe .jsp, something like that, they'll have that particular that exact name. Yeah, URL rewritings. Okay, so in Drupal, it's already implemented using a kind of one module called Path Auto. Like you can configure everything. How I wish I can show you, but okay, next session maybe, hopefully. And then you can configure it, and then when you create a post or maybe when you create a content, dynamic your URL gets generated then dynamically without you giving much effort. Okay, so that's one of the contributed modules that I've used, and I've used it like regularly in every website I'm working on. We always use that path auto. It's basically creating the path, and you're using that to create these SEO friendly URLs. And we have custom modules also. Example of custom module is that suppose you want to implement kind of a payment gateway. Okay, generally Drupal doesn't have a kind of ready-made modules for or Indian payment gateways. So if you can develop, you can use the API that the payment gateway provides and create custom modules using Drupal. And obviously you can use themes. You can write custom themes so that it'll look the look and feel of the website is as per your requirement. Okay, so like how I mentioned before, headless Drupal also, we can do that. We can just have the backend Drupal where we can manage your content. You can manage your whatever data that you have, and then you can create endpoints where you can connect from your React application or Angular application or maybe your mobile app. Okay, this is how you use Drupal. Okay, customizing Drupal, contributed modules and themes. So that's how we can customize. We can include these modules into Drupal, and then we can add some theme. We can include these themes also, ready-made themes. We can build your own custom modules and your own custom themes, and we can integrate with external services like how I mentioned before. We can integrate with your payment gateway. We can connect to a payment gateway, and you can use Drupal easily with that. And one of the applications that I've seen, one of the websites that I'm working on, a very huge website, I didn't put in that list. Okay, so it's a very popular website. It's one of the, let's say, one of the big companies that I've worked on. It has, I think, almost 80 custom modules. Like for each and every functionality that they need to do, we can easily create custom module. And there's so much of complexity, there's so much of implementation that they've done that the site has been running for the past easily for the past 7 years. And I've seen it moving from Drupal 7, Drupal to Drupal 8, and Drupal 9, now Drupal 10. And then the way that we do is that when we can do the migration part also. Suppose people will give us data using CSV, we can easily import the data to Drupal, or maybe if you have a different platform, maybe WordPress, they wanted to migrate to Drupal, easily we can write a custom module and migrate to Drupal. Okay, so career opportunities in Drupal. So with so much of information, so much of the ability of Drupal to service these big websites and big applications and enterprise applications. What about career opportunities? When I started off with Drupal, I'll tell you the honest truth. Okay, things that when I started off, the first time when I installed Drupal in my laptop, I got discouraged, so to say, because I don't know how to use it. It's like if you install WordPress, okay, you'll see it. Everything is there. Once you install WordPress, it's very straightforward. You'll see it there. But then the day when I installed Drupal, I was like, man, okay, just keep it. That was 2007, I think, 2007. Then I forgot about Drupal altogether. Then 2008, when I joined one company. Then 2009, there's one of my friends. She was a Drupal expert. She was working on Drupal modules and Drupal themes. Then she gave a very short training. She shared some videos from Drupalize Me, and then click. And then just that moment itself, I just figure out, okay, Drupal is one of the platforms that I need to learn. And once you know how Drupal works, then you'll understand how to implement it. And then that when I look back to my Drupal journey, and I think, okay, Drupal is one of the best things that has ever happened in my career so far. Okay, and then I after working in that company, when I shifted out, I moved of that company. I was working in Laravel. I was working on other PHP technologies. Then I just felt, okay, time to move back to Drupal. Then I joined this company now, which I'm working on. It's basically a Drupal company, and then we have a lot of clients from US and UK, and then it's all Drupal websites. Okay, we have a team of 200, and then we work on Drupal only. So basically, career opportunities. There's always a shortage of Drupal specialists. That's a fact. Even if we say, okay, lots of developers, but then if you search for Drupal jobs, there'll always be a job for you. There'll always be a requirement that there'll be developers. They want developers in Drupal. They want to develop something in Drupal, because Drupal is not just a website. You can build big applications. You can build anything in Drupal, because it's not just a CMS. It's also a framework. So you can easily use Drupal for any of your applications that we need. Okay, so there's always a shortage of Drupal specialists, and like I've said, you can learn Drupal using Drupalize Me. That's one of the websites that I've used. You can use YouTube. You can start learning from scratch on how to do maybe just to set up the website, and then do custom module development and custom theme development. Then you'll understand how to use Drupal. But then honestly, it takes time to learn. Okay, so it's not like overnight, or maybe within a week's time you learn Drupal. It takes time. Even for me also, after working on Drupal 7, Drupal 6, Drupal 7, Drupal 8, 9, and 10, there's still lots to learn. And then I used to look at my friends in my company. They call these staff engineers, like they're on the top level. They'd be like developing so many things which are like very new, like not new actually. It's like very complex functionality, and then for them, it's like they have kind of 14 to 15 years of Drupal experience. And then I'm always look at them, and then every day they start doing new thing. Okay, it's always improving. It's always new. So it's when you learn Drupal, it's always a learning process. It's not like you learn today and then it finishes. You keep on learning, and then there's so much. It's very vast actually, and then you need to keep on learning so that, and then you keep on doing. You need to start coding, start working on a website, and maybe do something new so that you learn how to use Drupal. And honestly, it takes time to learn. It'll take a lot of time, but once you start working on Drupal, then you'll get that hang of it, and then you can start working on different projects and then implement different functionality. Okay. Being okay with Drupal is not good enough. Just being okay, like, okay, I'm just okay with Drupal is not good enough. You need to really deep dive into Drupal so that you can build good applications. Because sometimes, even for me also, I've faced that problem some years back, even till now also, that I'll be stuck with one problem and I won't have a solution. But then we have this team in my office where I can ask them, or maybe I can post in different forums to help me figure out the problem. Okay, so they'll, with a lot of expertise, they can explain to me how to get it working, how to develop that feature, and how to fix the problem. So that's the good thing about Drupal, is that they have a lot of community and people help you out easily without any problem. Okay, so once a Drupal developer, always a Drupal developer. I started off with Drupal in 2008. I'm still a Drupal developer now. Okay, so I hope that you'll pick up Drupal sometime or the other, but then I hope that you will also not give up on the way. And then even if it takes time to learn, there's a learning curve. You need to also understand Symfony framework a little bit, and you need to understand how Drupal works. But then eventually, at the end of the day, I think Drupal is it's a promising career for you. If you want to pick up Drupal, it's always a good time. There's never a shortage. There's always a shortage of Drupal developers, and you can start off with Drupal also. You can build, and especially if you're a front-end guy, or maybe front-end person who has an expertise in front-end technologies, you can also pick up Drupal as your backend technology, so that you can be a full-stack developer. Okay, so Drupal community. Basically, I want to talk about the Drupal community, all that 1.4 billion people who are 1.4 million people, I think, billion people who are the part of the community. So I think I'm just finishing up. So basically, in this community, what we do is that we contribute to fixing Drupal core issues. Drupal has a core basically, and then we can add all these modules and themes on top of it so that it'll function as how we want it to be. We can contribute to fixing Drupal core issues and contributed modules. We can contribute to Drupal documentation. That's how we can do. If you don't have much knowledge on Drupal on technology, if you have English as your if you know English pretty well, you can also contribute to the documentation. Okay, so you can volunteer doing Drupal camps and meetups. It's not just that you need to learn coding, or maybe you need to contribute like on code maybe, or maybe to an application, but you can also volunteer. That's also part of the community. And then you can promote Drupal. That's how I started off with promoting Drupal years back in Shillong. No one picked it up, then people took it. Then I had planned to start a Drupal meetup maybe in Shillong sometime in 2012, 2013. No one was interested. So I don't know why. Maybe it's a little bit tough. So here I am now promoting Drupal. Okay. So what happens with Drupal in the end is that you come for the software, then you stay for the community. I've met a lot of people. I met a lot of people, not from my office also, but then other people also where I've met in these Drupal camps, where I've very helpful. They're very good with technology, not just with Drupal. When they're like the knowledge about technology is so vast, and then you can talk to them about technology. You learn from them a lot, and then that's how you increase. That's how it helps you with your journey as a developer. Okay, so that's it. That's about Drupal. So, any questions? If you want to see Drupal in action, maybe you can meet me because I cannot display it here on this laptop. You can meet me later on. I'll just show you how to set it up and then how to add one module, that path auto module, and create some content so that you can see it in action. Okay, so that's all for Drupal. That's all for today. So maybe in the next session, I'll show it you maybe something like a custom module development or maybe custom theme development, and that'll be interesting. So that's all. Thanks.